So if either of you could just tell me briefly, what exactly is this new, deal between the two companies, Magenta and Euler Motors? And, I think Magenta, you've placed some orders for these electric three-wheelers that Saurav's company, Euler, manufactures. So if any one of you can just, answer this question.
Saurav, over to you.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Mayank, for doing this. This partnership is about, I think, let me summarize it from both Euler end and then Magenta's end, and also what it means for the ecosystem. So commercially, what it means is that we have, as company Euler, we have delivered 500 vehicles to Magenta, and they have deployed, and which was part of our sort of like an agreement that Euler had to deploy the electric three-wheeler cargo vehicles, and that those have done really well, and hence Magenta is considering deploying 2,000 vehicles over the next 18 months. Commercially, this is roughly 125 crore deal. What this means, while this is on a commercial level, I think what it means for both the company and the Indian ecosystem, which I would want to sort of highlight, is that, I mean, electric vehicle, while this is about, like, at this point of time, you're looking about 500 vehicle, but 3 years back when we started having a conversation about last mile delivery, how do we accelerate the transition to electric mobility, what we realized is, like, in this transition, you would need a couple of pieces to be solved. One would be a right product India fit, right? And the second thing is the ecosystem that can take that product and deliver the sort of benefits or the targets partners has. And in this ecosystem, your partners are your driver who is driving the vehicle. They are the more foremost and the most important one. The financiers who are financing these assets, and the operating team which is running these vehicles and are looking for certain, let's just say, financial, economical gains out of this ecosystem. This partnership is a strong statement to the Indian ecosystem that electric mobility's time has come at a scale level, not just at an experiment level. We are deployed 500 vehicle. In the next 18 months, we will deploy the next 2,000 as well. And with the hope that this becomes a case study for a lot of the other OEMs and a lot of other partners as well, that they should be thinking very, very seriously about the electric mobility piece. And together, I mean, there are going to be multiple OEMs, there are going to be multiple operating financial partners that has to come together to solve this. We want to be, this partnership is like a beacon for all of the ecosystem. I think as much as this gives me a lot of pleasure, and I would say our team a lot of happiness that the vehicle has met the sort of the Indian road condition, the payload conditions, the anxiety around charging and everything. I think and Max should add about like some of the objective that they have found out. But I'm also happy that some of the end customers who are going to use these vehicles in last mobility, they are also happy and they would want to extend it to the rest part of the India, and where some of these 2,000 vehicles would go. So that Max, why don't you add to this as well from your side?
Yeah. So,
right. And how Saurav just mentioned, Maxson, that the inflection point has sort of come in the e-mobility space. So your thoughts about is it more on the B2B application side? I mean, is this model more viable on the B2B side? Is that's one area that you're playing in.
Right. So, Mayank, first of all, thanks for this opportunity to use this channel to get message across. But like Saurav said, first thing, I believe this is an opportunity for the ecosystem and not an opportunity for two companies, because scale does matter in electric, scale in the ecosystem. So you need the right partners to come together. In this case, the product, the operator, and a lot more other things. But it is also giving a message out to the ecosystem, and when I say ecosystem, also to the client network, that this is here to stay, and it's no longer the pilot mode. It's a scale-up mode. That's one. Now, to answer your question, Mayank, about the very interesting thing in the e-mobility space right now, especially around last mile mobility, the form factor is already in place. The product is already in place. Euler is a great product and it's right there. The use cases have also started to broaden up. Earlier, it was driven by the e-commerce who had a sustainability mandate, and hence it was on trial basis, as I want to say, or a pilot basis. But the conversations have totally changed. So it is no longer that. It's like, how quickly can you scale up in multiple geographies? How quickly can you scale up and use different use factors or use cases? Now, that was driven by the e-commerce, but the latest conversations we are having is no longer with them only. It's FMCGs, it's FMCDs. And I was just having an interesting conversation some time ago. Electric vehicles are used to deliver oil barrels. I mean, it cannot be a more interesting conundrum than that, right? But that's where the ecosystem has come to. So what has happened is it's no longer whether electric vehicles for last mile mobility, whether two-wheeler, three-wheeler, but it's how quickly can we scale up. So I think that's where we have come to, and that's the kind of shift in the conversation and shift in with whom we are having this conversation. So these are the two aspects of big change in the client side that we are seeing.
Right. And it's a big order, Maxson. So Saurav also mentioned about the role of financiers in this case. So how are you going about acquiring these vehicles?
Sure. So I think as a company, we have a target in place. We call it the Upki Bar 10,000 program. So it's a very like you say, you've seen us, Mike. We've been very clear in terms of the numbers, the scale up plan, the city plan. In the same case for finances also, of course, Magenta is a fully funded company from an equity perspective. But very interestingly, Magenta is also the company which has got funding from companies, from financing companies, for most of the fintech companies, including the likes of a SIDBI. Right? So what has happened is the product has been established, the company also is established, and the use case also has been established. So the financing is no longer an issue, especially for a company like Magenta with a product like Euler, and with customers that we have fixed customers. So to that extent, today we are spoiled for choice in terms of the financing options, be it both the lease part, but also on the debt part of it. And so we are having some conversations now with traditional bankers who till recently did not have a product profile, financing product profile. So those are the interesting conversations that are happening. So I don't see finance as a problem purely on the back of a balance sheet, on the back of the product, on the back of the demand side of it. So for us, we are looking at a very interesting debt lease plan. That's how we've already structured the entire financing for this 125 crore deal that we have on the table.
Okay. Saurav, would you agree with Maxson? I mean, is this whole challenge over now in the EV space? I mean, financing, it's a big hurdle, isn't it?
Yeah, just to add the context, I think when Max is talking about, I think they're talking about the, I would say from the institutional sort of like customer and very, I would say key marquee investor balance sheet. I think yes. I mean, I'm always, I would say, surprised to see the rates, some of the rates Magenta team has been able to sort of pull off. So I think kudos to their team as well. And what I would say that this has also taken 3 years of transition. Like, so this is not something that would have come up like yesterday, but it has been in works, and finances are also getting a comfort. And that is what I was saying. This partnership is not just a win for Euler and Magenta team. It's a win for the ecosystem, as this will signal that banks or traditional banks or financier can think about large scale deployment. They can think about electric vehicle, and this won't happen in one go. It takes time. Like this deal, I mean, I would say this 2000 deal, I wouldn't say that it has happened because of the last I would say 2 months or a 5 months journey. It has happened because of the 3-year journey that we have both as a company has grown toward, right? I would say some of the areas in tier 2, tier 3, especially in the retail customer, there I feel that while the when they don't have one of the most attractive balance sheets, or in some cases your civil scores are not that great, financing becomes a bit of like bottleneck. But what I would see is that that was something present even in tier 1 markets 3-4 years back, and a lot of that had changed. And I'm sure like Max would have also seen that in some of those conversations over the 4 years has become much and much better, and like choices would have increased significantly, right? Same transition would happen over there, but retail is one area in tier 2, tier 3 where we still see challenges with financer. But overall, I would say the outlook is positive. Everybody is thinking about electric vehicle, and everybody knows that they have to come on the table to figure out a solution. It is not something that they can escape and say that I will wake up 5 years later, and when everything is figured out, secondary market to serviceability to and then I will finance. Because till then there are also some new age companies that are trying to disrupt that space, and some of them would have taken in retail. Obviously institutional is much more organized, and the risks and reward are well established metric, and I think there some of these challenges are much lower.
Is that one of the reasons, Saurav, why are you primarily operating in the institutional side, or are you also in the retail space as well?
So as a company, I would say over the last 2 years, right? Like we have grown from, if you look at our launch in October 21 and then started delivery in January 22, I think Delhi and Bangalore were the two cities that we started from. Today, we are present almost in 22 cities. There are like more than, I would say, 28 outlets that you can go to. Some of them would be Euler sort of owned, some of them would be like Euler partner owned. And we would, over the next 2-3 years, push this boundary further. Obviously, in next 1 year, we would want to get to the 40 cities that are there, so that also I think as Max would start thinking about delivering these vehicles, geographical expansion is something is also on their agenda, and we would want to make sure that we service these vehicles with the similar kind of TAT in all geography that they. So while we are not expanding, I would say like every other OEM that you start with one and suddenly you do 200 in one. We want to take like slow, concentrated bit, but continue to push that boundary. So going from 2 cities in 2022 to almost 22 cities in end of or January 24. So in 2 years, and then in 1 year we should double this number to 40 cities.
Right. And before I go to Maxson, just one more question, Saurav. So how are you doing this? How are you managing this in terms of the backend at Eulers, considering this large order that you received from Magenta and your ambitions that you've just shared? So are you going to expand capacity? Are you, looking at a bigger plant, or, about the entire automotive, the EV supply chain ecosystem, even that is in a infancy right now?
And I think that's where coming back while answering, I'll stress on the first point. This win is not just about Euler and Magenta. This is signaling to everyone that this is coming, and the demand for electric vehicle. The moment a partner or I would say a partnership work where you have the OEM, where you have the business partners, operating partners, financial, the entire ecosystem starts to work. The transition won't happen in a slow fire. It will happen at a very, very rapid pace. And there's a lot of work right now which is happening. And for Euler to sort of capture all of this, we have already started working on the supply chain localization. You're increasing the production from the 500 vehicle per month production capacity that we are hitting right now. We're going to push this to 1500 vehicle production capacity in the next 1 year. So delivering these 2000 vehicle from a production and supply chain is bit lesser. My only, I think my constant worry internally is to deliver the same value that I've been able to deliver on day one, or let's just say day 5. Even when I expand to 40 cities, I would want to be here, look Max in the eye to eye and say that, like, this is, even with 2000 vehicle, we are delivering the best experience on that. And if we are able to maintain that, I think the ecosystem will automatically win.
Right. Maxson, so what's your plan with these vehicles? Where do you want to deploy them? And, what's the roadmap in terms of, the operational strategy?
Yeah. So, sure. So, like I said, or I keep saying, we have a three-pronged strategy for growth. We call it the XYZ. So, at one angle, it's the geography spread that we discussed. So, from the number of cities that we are currently at, we need to increase it, and on one city per month is what we are actually right now we are doing. We have one new city launch per month. So, by itself, that's a geography spread. The second spread is the kind of use case spread that we are talking about, the kind of client conversations. So we want to move the needle on that. And right now we are doing an amazing amount of pilots with these so-called companies which typically wouldn't have been the first case for electric vehicles right now. And this is absolutely beyond sometimes some imagination. And listen, we're shipping oil, we're shipping carpets, we're shipping mattresses, we're shipping water. So fundamentally, that's the Y growth for us in terms of the use cases. The Z growth is where we look for partners like Saurav to grow the ecosystem. Is the format, the product format, where both in terms of the size of the volume and in terms of the range, and those are the kind of conversations. So this is the XYZ growth mandate that we have. We are running an internal mandate which we are officially launching very soon. I think this is the first channel probably where I'm talking about. We are calling it the Apki Bar 10,000 campaign. So that's the kind of scale of growth that we're looking at. Traditionally driven by what we have in India at this point in time. More cities, more use cases, more vehicle platforms. That's how we are structured for growth.
So you want to reach scale to 10,000 vehicles? Is there a time frame to that as well?
Yeah, we do have a time frame. We have, but maybe we're just going to launch it a couple of days from now. So I'll stay away from a formal date plan. It's coming your way very soon, in the next couple of days, not weeks.
Right. And you mentioned about, the range of these vehicles. So is that also one of the constraints, or was that one of the deciding factor for you to, go towards this particular product from Euler?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I think in electric vehicles, while we also have a charging infrastructure. So range for us is an understood challenge for which we have solved it. But what happens is, as much as me, there's a lot of driver partners who are operating these vehicles who need to have that confirmation. And what is important in a company like Euler is the ability for us to give the guarantee of product in terms of range as well, because there are some uncertainties. And I believe that Euler, being a born electric with a lot of research on this side, so the kind of confidence that my team, which is a Magenta internal team, and the entire operations team, and all the way down to the driver partners, is very high on the Euler product. And we have been very conscious with whom we partner with. So there, and Euler is a OEM of choice for us. And like Saurav said, it's not something which has just happened over the last couple of months. We've invested 3 years into each other, if I were to say, into seeing how we can refine the product, refine the way the product is used, refine the kind of conversations positioning. So yes, if not range in terms of, not in terms of kilometers, but the confirmation that those kilometers will be done. That's more, I would call it more of a range confidence rather than range in kilometers.
Right. So you have your own captive charging network of captive chargers at various maybe depots that Magenta would have, wherein your vehicles would come back and get recharged before they are deployed back on the road again.
Yeah, unknown to many. So we have 3 business arms, right? One is the logistics, which is pure in business. Some is supported by a captive charging network. In fact, at this point in time, we have more than 69 charging depots, or fleet operating depots, as we call them, which support our charging infrastructure. And these are built up at hotspots, very close to our client network, where exactly the business is. In fact, one of India's largest fleet operating depots in Bangalore was launched And the third business is the technology business, which allows us to build the software or all the solutions required for charging and also the operations of the fleet. So it's a integrated. Other than manufacturing vehicles, we have the entire playbook in place.
Understood. Sort of coming to you, I mean, Maxson just mentioned about, the actual range these vehicles must be able to deliver. So from a technological standpoint, where do you see this going? What can we expect in terms of more innovation from companies like you going forward as we see, lithium-ion technology evolving further and, different chemistries coming into the picture. So what's your, outlook on the technological part of EV technology in the future?
So I think on the part of range, I think it should be fine. I feel like so even before we had put Euler vehicle on sale, right? Like we had deployed around 400, 500 vehicle, ran it for 3-4 years. I think some of those 300 might have hit end of life, and then there were like another 400, 500 batch that we built. What we learned was that 100 120 is like a good range, and it's a good range from a finance point of view, from like from a point of view that most of your Indian cities will be covered. Anxiety, 3 to 4 year when the legislative there are degradation, all of those points, it is well encapsulated in that. I think the area where Euler would want to push, and Euler has been at the forefront of that part, is the liquid cooling and the fast charging speed. So that's one area that we'll continue to push. There's another area that we are working is when you are expanding to multiple cities, right? There are cities that gets also a lot more cold than and there are cities like Guwahati, Srinagar, and when you start thinking about that, how do you also solve for a problem which not a lot of people talk about, which is when temperature fall below 15 degrees, even in like a lot of the northern plain, then how do you solve for degradation over there? Our fundamental, I would say, all of research is about how do we extend the life of battery pack, and how do I extend that to my partners. I think the more the battery lasts, the maximum juice they would be able to get out of the vehicle. So that's where, so charging speed, taking care of other environmental factor as well, while heating gets discussed a lot, but the cooling point of view. Then also, I would say the discussion about, instead if you want to go to a larger distance, then maybe a larger vehicle. I think there have been discussion and thoughts around that. India has been able to, I think some of the OEMs has put product, but what is the right product market fit? I think there has been a lot of that discussion, because just putting a vehicle, but if it doesn't match the entire ecosystem expectation, then also transitions are usually slow. So I think we all are sort of working together to solve these problem statement. But from technology, I think your focus, Euler's focus has been on improving the efficiency of the vehicle, improving the battery, I would say charging speed, making it work in winter conditions as well. And on top of that, like pushing for the software-based advantages, like being able to, let's just say, integrate very well with the fleet management system, for instance, which Magenta Mobility is running at there, so that they have a very good visibility of what's happening on the vehicle, being able to help them get better efficiency out of the vehicle. I think the software is the other aspect where we push. These are largely, I would say, where we've been thinking about in the vehicle.
Okay. And would you also consider swappable batteries? And as an OEM, do you also see yourself, Euler Motors, getting into the charging infra space as well?
See, so on the first, I would say, just let me write so that I don't forget. So on the swapping, I think we tried, and maybe I think I would have maybe Max also jump into it and share his view. I would want to also understand. I've never asked this question to him, but our view was that for a three-wheeler cargo and a four-wheeler and some of these space, when we thought about the entire vehicle, battery is a big integral piece of it, and taking it out of the battery pack and swapping it, it just didn't sort of like, work out for us, even in our pilots when we were doing. Fundamentally, when we were thinking about swapping the issues that it was trying to solve was that, either it was, let's just say, too bulky, so because your battery densities were lower, or is it a bit expensive, or it is taking too much of volume. These were your three problems why people were considering battery swapping as a technology. If you see, like, dollar per kilowatt hour, the battery, the way we look at the procurements of lithium ion batteries, that has fallen like more than, I would say, 90% now from your 15 years back, the rate. In first 10 years, I think it dropped by 80%. In last, I think 5 years, I have seen it going down. Minus the COVID changes that had pushed it up, right? So if it is coming down, your energy density is improving both on a galvanometric and on a I would say on a weight level and on a volume level, both of them. So that means you will be able to package more and more energy in smaller volume. They will weigh lesser and it will be cheaper. So it's a trend that is going in that direction. I felt building a company and solutions and ecosystem around a technology which is against that trend is not the right way to build. In short term, it might work, but in long term, when you're thinking about transition, you need to have like a 10, 20, 30-year viewpoint. In those, it would not work. Maybe for a smaller, let's just say a two-wheeler or a smaller three-wheeler passenger, it can work with a smaller battery pack. But here you're talking even in three-wheeler, like we have one of the largest, battery pack which gives one of the maximum range and maximum payload carrying capacity. 13 kilowatt hour battery pack is like roughly 120 kgs. Even if you like break it and you want to swap for that for the driver, which is the most important part. I think and this is something that Euler and Magenta can always agree, even if there are things that we do, that the driver has to be happy. If the driver partner is happy, you are going to be taken care of, right? Because and for him, he is already going to be delivering a lot of load. He or she has like a lot of routes to manage, traffic, all of that. In middle of that, if they have to find a swapping station and do 120 kgs of swap, or even if it's a half, let's just say, battery and you swap twice, then doing that 60 kgs of battery swap once to get a 50 kilometers, then do another 60 kg to get another, it's just like adds too much to their user experience. And as you think higher and higher vehicle battery pack, your kilowatt hour is going to increase. That means it's the weight and everything.
Yeah.
And when we thought it from the lens of life of the batteries, and when you think about liquid cooling was something very, very essential for us. And if you're going to swap a liquid cooled battery pack, so it's not just the charge lines that you have to disintegrate in India, you have to also think about the cooling lines, the liquids that are going in. Every time you open and close that, it's like it's going to create a challenge for there will be leakages and so thinking from all of this from a technological point of view, and also thinking about the trend, we believe the right answer would be that a fixed battery solution. I will also have like Max add a few lines to that, and then I'll probably or maybe I can quickly add the infra point. I think together we are working on most of the solution. Today, Euler has primarily, I would say, focus on the deployment and being able to service that really well. Obviously, we had built some of these charging stations early on where we, if it is required, we definitely go out and do it. But today we have made our vehicle accessible to most of the DC fast charging solutions that Magenta and other like players have, and which allows our vehicle to interoperate on all of these stations. I think that's the right way for us also to grow as a company.
Okay. Maxson, your thoughts on the swappable bit?
So this is something which I've been saying since 2018 when we got into this businesses. Swapping is an intermediate ecosystem or technology. Also, it is intermediate and also limited in use case. I'll be very I'll not take a technology view, but I'll just give a user perspective because we have a large fleet and we need to take a point on which technology. So one of the reasons, I'll make it very simple in terms of the intermediateness is because at that point of time, as the battery tech improved, the BMS is improved. Right now, the use case for a fixed battery makes sense. Okay, 100 kilometers, etc. You don't need a swapping for that. Second, the fact that fixed batteries also means a certainty in terms of the quality of the battery that you have. And from an asset perspective, I would rather have a fixed battery than. The third fact is also the use case or the business side of it, not the technology. The business side of it would demand at least 2.4 times the number of batteries for every vehicle on road. And also another aspect is for even to that to become efficient, there's a huge network effect that is required. So all of this for me, I'm not so much in favor of swapping. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It will not work. But now let's talk about some use cases, and there are some very successful models of battery swapping. But if you see, the use case is a very specific two-wheeler use case, and no more, right? So even there is if you were to ask me, the three-wheeler, four-wheeler battery swapping, very rare, difficult, and if it is in a very specific use case, it's two-wheelers for some cases and not for all. So this is my response to battery swapping, and I have maintained this response from 2018, and it still stands. It stands validated today, really speaking. So in terms of the proportion of our network of vehicles, I think it's 100% fixed battery network of vehicles.
Okay. Right. Last words to you, Maxson. I mean, Saurav has already expressed his views about this collaboration between the two companies, Magenta and Euler. What it would entail for the broader EV ecosystem in India. Your thoughts on that? What do you feel, this is going to, sort of generate in the coming future?
Sure. So it's a shift of a certain use case. I mean, people need to get more confident about it, and that confidence will always come when such scale is achieved on the back of partnerships. So I mean, Magenta is confident on Euler, and Euler is confident on Magenta's ability to extract the maximum use out of the vehicle. So this is done and dusted. But the reason for us to be having on to a common conversation like with you is to instill that confidence into the network as well. And we believe that such more partnerships need to happen. And now and also to open up to a lot of client use cases to say, hey, listen, the product fitment is there, the operator fitment is there, the charging fitment is there. It's time that you start and converse with us and say, listen, how can we actually deliver value for you in terms of logistics and try not only offset your carbon footprint, but offset your cost of transport. I think that's something which is an announcement like this is going to happen. I think probably in the private sector, this is one of the few large deals that has happened. And for private companies to come together and launch such a massive partnership at scale, I think people will be questioned, why are others not doing it? So I think maybe this is the first of many to come, and I wish the entire ecosystem to pick up more of such large-scale deployments.
Sure. Let's hope for the best, and may this collaboration become a good example for others to follow in the future. Wish you both all the success in the coming years. Thank you so much, Maxson and Saurav, for your time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.